billion, there is still a gap of 6 billion. Now, why are investors not coming? So each country will tell us what they are doing to attract investors. Countries have done a lot in the Sahel countries. They have done a lot of incentives. Still, we do not see that much investors in the agricultural sector. So, without further ado, we will have a perspective of this. So, we will call to the panel for Nigeria, representing the Minister of Agriculture, Engineer Maruf Ajenifuja, Trade Advisor, Technical Advisor to the Ministry of Agriculture and Foreign and Food Security. Welcome, Engineer Maruf. Niagado, Permanent Secretary for Agriculture from the Republic of the Gambia. From Cabo Verde, the delegate of the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Joao Vieira. From Cameroon, representing the High Commissioner in Abuja, Madam. And for the regional, as the honor of being in this panel to provide. Welcome. All right. We said we would like hectares. If we develop this irrigation, now imagine if all the 10 countries produce tomato at this level. Who will sell to who? Who will buy from who? This is the question we will be asking. So, if we develop it, we will get this brings the question of market integration. Do we have the roads? Do we have railways? Do we have the facilities to have these products move freely in our area? And if we do have that, do we have the necessary infrastructures along these corridors? Maybe we will need some cold chain. Maybe we will need some storage facilities because we need to stop from one country to the other. So what do we have in place, or what do we need to do for market integration? And before that, we have the irrigation itself. Now, what are the key reforms that countries are putting in place to attract investors? And if we are attracting investors, why they are still not coming? So each country hosting us, Nigeria. So Engineer Maruf, what is your perspective on these two aspects? We are getting late, so I was asked by the moderator and timekeeper to allow 5 minutes per each panelist if they can summarize these 2 points. So Engineer Maruf, representing the Ministry of Agriculture, welcome, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria is a case study in the whole of West Africa. And we must talk about the policy environment, what exactly we've done in terms of policy to improve the business environment. The federal government of Nigeria, through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, under the distinguished leadership of Senator Abubakar Kyari CON, we're implementing a policy right now that's a National Agricultural Technology and Innovation Policy. It's designed as an instrument to actually drive and unlock a lot of investment, both public and private, into the development of agricultural value chain, transforming the national food system in the process. In doing this, because of time constraint, I will summarize them. We've already developed some projects to actually address some of those issues to improve the business environment. One of those projects, recently the President and the Commander-in-Chief of Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, launched a Renew Hope mechanization program with over 2,000 tractors and over 9,000 assorted implements in the first tranche. In the next 4 years, we will have about 30,000 tractors. They will now have, it will be private sector led, is to de-risk the mechanization program for the country. It will be heavily subsidized to reduce the risk for the private sectors. And under that policy also, we're running a program called GIP, the Grain Imperative Program. We're going to establish private sector-led service centers in 774 local governments. It's like a one-stop shop input center that will address irrigation requirements, address the issue of input supply to the farmers, as well as the primary processing and others. This will go a long way to transform our nation's food system. In line with that, also in the area of irrigation, through the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, Nigeria is implementing sustainable power and irrigation for Nigeria Spain. It's to actually enhance the safety of our dams, efficient utilization of our water resources to ensure that we have water to drive food security. We recognize the centrality of water to food security achievement, and that's why we're doing a lot in that. And we've heard a lot from the Permanent Secretary, the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, earlier on. In the area of processing, we're doing a lot in that area. I'll give you just a few parts of it. We're implementing a mega processing zones. This is a program with partnership with the ISDB, AFDB, and IFAD. Now we have it in 8 locations. To improve the business environment, the government is providing all the requisite infrastructure as a bid to attract the investors. They will provide roads, power, water supply for irrigation and municipal use. Now they invest a lot of impact across the federation. We're also implementing the value chain development project to actually improve the value chain development of candidate crops. It's in partnership with IFAD. And that alone also, we're thinking of scaling it up. We're also doing the same that we call the livelihood improvement family enterprises in the Niger Delta. We're trying to target the youth in those areas so that the youth can actually have a voice. They can have their impact, because when we invest in the youth, we're actually investing in our future, and it's a smart economics for us. So we knew all this. Beyond that, during the policy also, we established the National Agricultural Development Fund. This is a mega funding agency to de-risk agricultural businesses and, of course, to improve the business environment. That will attract the investors to see it as the level of risk they're going to take is already limited. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, because of time constraint, I will summarize a few other things. Now, the SAPZ, going on in 8 states, we're going to scale it up to have 27 more states by the end of next year. It's a mega project. It's a kind of agropole where we have agro-processing enclave. The youth and women will have a lot of benefit from it. Investors of different categories, they have a place to plug and play their games there. You are all invited to participate in this. Investors should know that there are many other physical and fiscal incentive that comes with it. And it's a good platform for us. Just like the way we have hand-in-hand initiative now, we know the gap we have in this. And in driving it further, we just developed a document now again. They call it NASIP, National Agri-Food System Investment Plan. It's in line with CADEP. That's a comprehensive African agriculture development program. These are many more at what the government is doing to actually improve the business environment. The Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, I think in July, he led the team of Nigerians to Addis to actually mobilize for more finances to improve the business environment. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, from the Gambia, Alaji Nyagado, Permanent Secretary, what is the perspective from the Gambia? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. given the fact that we are summarized, but is nothing different from what we shared yesterday. When you look at our critical investment yesterday, it was for rice, tomato, and onion. Like we have everything right and we produce enough. What is going to happen? I want to tell you, when you look at rice importing from the sub-region, we are importing as far as Taiwan, India, and all Far East. We don't have roads between us and those countries. If Nigeria is able to produce and produce at a cheaper means, sure, the investment in that area will come naturally. Necessity is the mother of invention. When people realize that this is needed, it will happen. When the war came in Russia and Ukraine, that is when I realized that a lot of things that we eat in Africa come all the way from Ukraine. And we are not struggling to ask the distance between here and Ukraine because it's our needs. I can tell you a businessman in the Gambia, when during COVID, wanted to import rice and went to India, they put an embargo. He is now the biggest producer of rice in the Gambia. He decided that he will not go to any other country to ask for rice to import to Banjul. So once we create the conditions, the necessity is there, and we produce, the market will automatically create itself, and it will be available. At the moment in the Gambia, for example, we consume 80 to 90% of rice that we eat is imported from outside. And as far as East Africa, we don't import rice from any of the sub-regions in the sub-region. So which means for me, we have not reached to that level of what we are going to do if we produce enough. The markets exist and the opportunities will come. Business people will grab the opportunity and ensure that it is circulated. As a country, what do we do to be able to get that rice self-sufficiency? We had started encouraging businessmen, this particular businessman we have mentioned. We have created a matching grant for our smallholders. If you look at history, when I was going to school, all small communities in the Gambia were producing enough rice. We don't buy rice. Now, because of climate change and other things, those areas are no longer under cultivation, given the difficulties. So, but with improved machinery, with improved seeds, we will now embark on bringing those communities back to rice cultivation. One of the good projects we have is the project we have with IFAD and African Development Bank, which is resuscitating those communities to bring them back to produce enough. Once they have enough to eat, their balance will supply the capital and we will have enough. Our import bill will be reduced. How do we do that? And we provide services to them at a discount rate. If this year the project provides 80%, the farmer will provide 20%. The following year, it will go to 60%, and then the farmer 40%. By the time we get to 4 years, the farmers will have enough now, will be able to provide themselves with the needed services and produce enough for our communities. It is working. The next level we are working with African Development Bank is to create service centers where these small farmers will be able to get services to service their farms, and they will be able to create a business that is needed. And in the process, we build them into cooperative. Along the line, they will now be in charge of those cooperatives and the management of those machineries to be able to provide themselves the services that is needed to be able to produce enough. In terms of finances, we are working, just like somebody stated it here yesterday from Nigeria, we have what we call GAMISAL. This is de-risking lending for farmers. We're working with African Development Bank. It's almost at the final stage now, where that bank or de-risking will provide the opportunity for farmers to be able to attract loan at the bank without giving collaterals that we are doing. Now, in terms of incentives for private investors, we have created under what we call Gambia Investment Promotion. They have gone around the country to bank land so that when you are an investor, you are interested in a land, you will deal with that institution because land is an issue. Land tenure system is very complex in the Gambia. Land belongs to communities. Sometimes you want to grab their land, even if they are not cultivating, they see it as an asset. It's not easy to take. So, but to make investment easy, these government institutions go to communities, agreed with them, get those land lease, institution in turn will give it to investors. As far as tax holidays are concerned, I had elaborated on them yesterday. I don't want to dwell on them again. If you need further information, you can get it from the organizers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, représentante de l'ambassade du Cameroun à Abuja. Les deux questions que nous avons pour vous, que vous pouvez synthétiser, c'est quels sont les mécanismes qui sont en place pour faciliter l'investissement pour le Cameroun et aussi pour l'intégration des marchés. Si le Cameroun produit, quelles sont les difficultés et quelles sont les solutions que vous entrevoyez. Merci beaucoup. Donc, comme tous les autres panélistes, 5 minutes si possible. Merci.
Merci
Madame.
beaucoup. Ce que je peux déjà dire, c'est que parmi les réformes pour cette décennie, dans le cadre de la stratégie nationale de développement du Cameroun 2020-2030, le Cameroun a mis en place le plan intégré d'institutions agro-pastorales et halieutiques qui a pour objectif principal de lutter contre les importations massives des produits, notamment 6 filières qui ont été identifiées parmi le riz. Et il faut dire que ce plan est évalué à peu près à 30% en ce qui concerne la filière riz. Donc, c'est dit que la problématique de 800 000 tonnes de riz, quand on sait que les besoins nationaux sont de 600 000 tonnes dans nos pays voisins d'Afrique centrale. Alors, dans le cadre de ce plan intégré d'impôt substitution agro-pastorale et halieutique, des incitations sont mises en place pour amener le secteur privé à plus s'impliquer. Ça peut être à travers des appels d'offres, à travers des fonds de garantie. Il faut dire que dans le cadre du PISA, l'État a le premier pilier fort qui constitue ce plan est la des périmètres hydro-agricoles. Donc, à lui seul, il est évalué à 1200 milliards de francs CFA. Donc, la sécurisation est un aspect important que l'État prend sur lui et prend en charge pour déjà amener les investisseurs à ne plus souffrir des problèmes fonciers lorsqu'ils arrivent sur le terrain. Maintenant, en ce qui concerne les questions un autre aspect que je peux dire freine la production ou encore la commercialisation de nos produits, c'est le désenclavement des bassins de production. C'est pour ça que nous sommes à 1200 milliards, parce que le coût de transport est très élevé. Les bassins de production sont très enclavés. Alors, dans la sous-région, des initiatives sont prises, autant dans la sous-région que à l'intérieur du pays. Actuellement, il y a quelques mois, nous avons inauguré le pont Yagua-Bongor qui permet déjà de rallier, un second pont qui permet de rallier le Cameroun au Tchad, par exemple. Des initiatives sont prises à l'intérieur du pays, notamment l'aménagement, la mise en place des aires aménagées le long des corridors Douala, Yaoundé, N'Djamena, Douala, Yaoundé, Bangui, ainsi que vers le Gabon et la Guinée équatoriale. En ce qui concerne les incitations pour le marketing, il faut dire que les populations au Cameroun rencontrent beaucoup de problèmes, notamment en ce qui concerne la transformation de leurs produits, la normalisation et la labellisation de leurs produits. Dans ce sens aussi, l'État met des moyens pour accompagner ces producteurs à des taux vraiment, on va dire quoi, des taux réduits pour les amener à être compétitifs sur le marché tant national qu'international. Donc, voilà un peu l'essentiel de ce qu'il y avait à dire. Et une autre initiative aussi qui est en cours de maturation, c'est celle de susciter l'intérêt des petites et moyennes entreprises, parce qu'on s'est rendu compte que les petites et moyennes entreprises qui opèrent au Cameroun sont essentiellement, dire à 80%, dans le secteur tertiaire plutôt que dans le secteur primaire, où elles représentent seulement 1%. Donc, des initiatives sont en train d'être conduites dans ce sens pour susciter l'intérêt de ces PME au secteur agricole. Merci.
Merci bien, madame. Des applaudissements. Round of applause for madame. From Burkina Faso, Mr. Alassane Djiré, directeur de cabinet représentant le ministre de l'Agriculture. La question est à vous. Comment vous voyez ces deux aspects de l'irrigation, du développement de l'irrigation et aussi de l'intégration des marchés? Monsieur Djiré, la parole est à vous.
Merci bien, monsieur le modérateur. Donc, pour aborder ces deux problématiques, notamment les mesures incitatives pour intéresser davantage le secteur privé, les investisseurs privés, il est important que nous puissions définir quelle est la vision de notre pays en matière d'agriculture. Nous voulons du Burkina une agriculture compétitive, résiliente et rentable. Et pour cela, il y a donc naturellement le besoin d'avoir un environnement sécurisé, attractif. Et pour tout ça, nous avons donc mis en place un arsenal dans la quiétude. Alors, pour prendre juste quelques exemples de mesures législatives fortes, nous savons tous que pour produire, pour sortir une plus-value de sa production, il faut d'abord disposer d'un capital productif, qui peut être la terre, qui peut être l'eau. Donc, pour sécuriser aussi bien le secteur privé que public, mais particulièrement le secteur privé dans notre pays, nous avons adopté la loi du foncier, le foncier et la régulation agraire. Cette loi vient d'être renforcée par des dispositions spécifiques. Si bien que tous les grands bassins productifs de notre pays, le gouvernement est en train d'en faire des zones d'utilité publique. Ce qui sous-entend que l'État va purger tous les droits individuels pour en faire donc une entité appartenant à l'État qui peut donc le mettre à la disposition des investisseurs privés pour leur business. Et c'est d'autant plus important pour nous que nous avons essayé d'évaluer depuis avant les indépendants de notre pays, à très récemment, avant la révolution que nous vivons depuis bientôt 2 ans, nous avions moins de 30 000 hectares de périmètre irrigués, sur un potentiel de près de 300 000 hectares. Ce qui nous a laissé comprendre que pour valoriser tout ce potentiel, il nous fallait 250 ans si nous voulons suivre le rythme auquel l'État arrive à le faire. Une aberration. Le secteur privé qui est là, essentiellement orienté vers l'import-export, un continent, un pays, une nation ne se développe pas sur l'import-export. Une nation, un peuple se développe sur sa capacité à s'auto-suffire, à faire de la valeur ajoutée des productions l'essence de son développement. Donc, nous incitons le secteur privé à saisir cette opportunité et de nous faire voir la fibre patriotique, aussi bien pour les nationaux que pour les Africains en général. Donc, voici une des premières lois incitatives que nous actionnons pour donc intéresser le secteur privé. La deuxième, c'est la loi également. Nous créons des facteurs favorisant tout investisseur qui viendrait au Burkina Faso pour investir. Ce code vous permet d'avoir une exonération de tout équipement, tout matériel d'installation sur les taxes, la TVA notamment, et sur votre bénéfice durant les 7 premières années de votre installation. Donc c'est du pain béni que nous offrons au secteur privé qui malheureusement jusqu'à présent a des difficultés à comprendre que c'est une des meilleures opportunités. Nous courons en Asie pour chercher le riz, nous courons en Europe pour chercher le blé. C'est parce que nos relations sont saines avec ces continents. Le jour où on voudra nous éliminer de la carte du monde, on n'aura pas besoin de prendre les kalachnikovs. On ferme le robinet du riz, on ferme le robinet du blé, on ferme le robinet du lait. Et nous allons mourir de notre belle mort. Donc, je pense que c'est interpellateur également à ce niveau. Et toujours en termes de dispositions législatives, il y a la loi sur le partenariat public-privé qui a été adoptée. Il y a véritablement un certain nombre de dispositions qui existent, le code de l'environnement, le code forestier, le code de l'eau, qui donc vous permettent de vous inscrire dans la durabilité en préservant les ressources. Donc, tout cet arsenal-là est là pour accompagner effectivement les investisseurs qui sont intéressés. Nous avons donc des mesures de réforme également importantes. Nous parlions tantôt de la question de l'écoulement de nos productions nationales. Nous avons mis en place une société d'État qui a pour vocation d'acheter exclusivement toute la production nationale qui n'aurait pas de marché intéressant ailleurs, pour donc sécuriser le producteur. Et cela va s'appliquer au secteur privé qui voudrait venir au Burkina Faso. Nous avons, pour accélérer le mécanisme de la transformation de la production, nous avons mis dans chacune des communes du Burkina Faso une brigade mobile, une brigade mécanisée plutôt, agricole, qui va disposer des tracteurs, tout le matériel post-récolte, petit matériel de transformation, pour donc permettre aux producteurs de s'alléger et de pouvoir conduire plusieurs cycles de production dans l'année. Parce que quelquefois, c'est la lenteur des opérations culturelles qui impacte négativement, effectivement, nos capacités à produire plus. Donc voilà, je ne sais pas si j'ai déjà bouffé mes 5 minutes, il y a beaucoup d'autres réformes dans le domaine des engrais, dans le domaine de la semence, et il y a naturellement cette insuffisance liée au lien entre recherche et vulgarisation. Ça aussi, c'est des questions qu'il faut voir. La question des infrastructures routières, des infrastructures de stockage, de transformation. Il faut que le secteur privé s'y intéresse. Faisons attention. Faisons attention. Parce que nous pouvons être condamnés à mort par la faim. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Des applaudissements. Thank you so much. From Cabo Verde, Mr. Joao Vieira, Delegate of the Ministry of Agriculture in Sao Domingos. Mr. Joao Vieira, perspective from Cabo Verde on these two questions. Thank you so much.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. Bom dia. Bonjour. I will try to speak in 5 minutes, but it's a big pleasure to be here, to talk about policy, talk about private. But in Cabo Verde, we recognize that strengthening the business environment is a key to reducing risk and creating opportunity to private sector engagement. Over the past years, we have stabilities dedicated public institutions such as Pro-Empresa, Pro-Capital, and Pro-Garante to support small and medium enterprises, tools, finance, and technical assistance. We are implementing target subsidy for drip irrigation and greenhouse, modernizing livestock production, and providing simplified access to credit to the Autonomous Fishers Fund with special focus on youth and women. For example, to speak about strengthening the business environment, Cabo Verde has adopted concrete measures and reform to reduce investment risk and to create a more conducive environment for private sector engagement in irrigation. We have, for example, institutional strengthening, creation of new public institutions and companies such as Pro-Empresa and Pro-Garante to improve to access to finance. And we have talk about irrigation support. The drip irrigation subsidy program in 50% of the cost of drip irrigation equipment and installation, promote modern climate resilience agriculture. Something like in the program, greenhouse programs, farmers benefit for 50% subsidize approximately like $6,000 for agricultural greenhouse, fostering investment in protect crops and boosting fruit and vegetable productivity. At the same time, we acknowledge the barriers that remain. Yeah, informality in the primary sector is common in Cabo Verde, I think for other country here. Limited access to finance and gaps in transparency will constrain investment. Address this challenge requires stronger public-private partnership in essential sectors such as water, for example, sanitization, energy, and fisheries. Expand tolerate credit lines so toward build win-win solution. Responded to the question, regional market integration and trade. Final, regional market integration is critical for small island state like Cabo Verde. We're a small country in the Atlantic, and investment in transport infrastructure, logistics platform, and cold storage facility, and harmonized trade policy are priority for Cabo Verde, for government of Cabo Verde. Connecting Cabo Verde with regional markets and by leveraging initiatives such as African Continental Free Trade Area and ECOWAS. When to position our country as a security and strategy hub in the Atlantic. Priority investment and regional cooperation efforts needed to improve market integration and attract large-scale private investment include like transport infrastructure and corridors. For example, construction and modernization in land, sea, and air transport infrastructure, regulation and expansion of strategic ports, for example, Port Inglês, Porto Grande, following blue ports, principles low environmental impact, energy efficient, and urban integration. It's so important. Strengthening inter-island passenger and cargo transport to unify the national market. So important, storage, logistics, and supply chains we needed. Development of logistics centers in Mindelo, São Nicolau, and Santiago. Cold storage platform and fish complex, like Mindelo Cold Platform, Praia Fishing Complex. And integration of maritime, land, and or air logistics supported by port decarbonization and the digitalization project. About harmonious trade policies, leveraging African continent free trade area and ECOWAS to ensure favorable, reducing trade barriers and harmonizing policy to attract long-term investment, and attraction of expand public-private partnership in port and transport, corridor manager, promoting Cabo Verde International as a safe, stable, and strategic Atlantic hub. Bom, Cabo Verde remains committed to advancing reforms, building partnership, and promoting innovation to ensure gems, irrigation, agro-processing, livestock, and fishery. Translate into sustainable, ground, resilient, and prosperous.
Thank you very much. So now we have the perspective from the countries. And we all are doing the efforts, all the countries. Now, do we have an idea of how many money Africa invests in buying food every year? Do we have an idea? 80 billion US dollar. This is what Africa sends to buy food outside. 80 billion dollars. Now we are here trying to attract investors only for 6 billion. All the countries are doing the efforts. Something needs to change. Maybe our investors need to show patriotism, as it was indicated here, to invest more in feeding people. Agriculture is a risky place, as it has always been. All the other continents developed, even if it was risky. So from the Africa region, from the Sahel region, what are our perspectives? How are we investing in promoting this? So, Mr. Executive Secretary of the SEALS, Mr. Mohamedou, what is your perspective? Quelle est votre perspective sur ce changement que peuvent apporter ces deux investissements dans le domaine de l'irrigation et dans l'intégration des marchés? Merci beaucoup. La parole est à vous.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais tout d'abord dire que la région Sahel-Afrique de l'Ouest figure parmi les régions les mieux intégrées économiquement en Afrique. Nous avons dans ces domaines quand même des acquis importants, comme la libre circulation des personnes et des biens, la liberté de résidence, des droits de douane et toutes les autres réglementations régionales. Dans le secteur agricole, je voudrais mentionner la réglementation sur les pesticides, sur les semences, sur les engrais, qui sont reconnus au niveau régional. Les pays également, comme il l'a rappelé, ont fait des efforts importants quand même dans le domaine des routes. Il y a des corridors, il y a des grands projets sur ces corridors. Certains sont achevés, d'autres sont en cours. Des opérations même ont été initiées pour faciliter le commerce régional à travers des opérations de fluidité routière, comme on les a appelées, ou la lutte contre les tracasseries au niveau régional. Mais il y a des défis. Et à ces défis que nous connaissions déjà, qui ont été rappelés tout à l'heure, s'ajoute le contexte actuel. Donc, depuis le déclenchement du conflit russo-ukrainien et la nouvelle géopolitique mondiale, nos pays se rendent compte qu'on est dans une nouvelle page historique et qu'on ne peut plus faire comme on faisait avant. Parmi les insuffisances ou les défis, si je peux le dire, vous avez, comme quelqu'un l'a rappelé, la faiblesse du commerce intra-régional. En fait, nos pays commercent plus avec l'extérieur qu'entre eux-mêmes. C'est quand même un grand paradoxe. J'aime cette formule. Je le disais toujours quand j'étais au Niger. Je leur disais, mais vous êtes juste des importateurs de ciment et des produits manufacturiers. Vous ne produisez absolument rien du tout sur le territoire national. C'est vrai que l'agriculture au Sahel, surtout, est considérée comme un risque, une activité à risque. Mais quand on prend l'irrigation avec maîtrise totale ou même partielle de l'eau, c'est quand même un secteur rentable. C'est reconnu comme un secteur rentable. Mais on a un secteur privé très frileux dans ce domaine-là. C'est vrai qu'on a quelques champions. Quand je prends au Nigeria ici, Dangote et d'autres probablement dans les pays de la région, qui essaient d'investir au niveau de la région. Mais ça reste encore insuffisant pour apporter des transformations structurelles. Nous n'avons pas également, nous n'exploitons pas suffisamment les complémentarités agroécologiques de la région. Évidemment, si nos privés sont plus orientés vers l'extérieur, il est extrêmement difficile pour eux d'investir au niveau nationale. Nous avons les routes, il y a quelques routes, mais comme quelqu'un l'a dit, souvent les bassins de production ne sont pas connectés au reste du pays ou de la région. Donc, cette question de transformation des produits agricoles est devenue vraiment un serpent de mer. Et souvent, les tentatives qui ont été faites n'ont pas donné de résultats parce que il est facile de voir, parce que les productions maraîchères sont des productions saisonnières. C'est pour 3 mois, ça ne peut pas faire fonctionner une usine de transformation. C'est valable pour les autres. Mais on a un export de produits périssables, par exemple. Vous ne pouvez pas transporter du lait ou d'autres produits maraîchers périssables dans la région parce qu'il n'y a pas ces infrastructures. Vous avez également les infrastructures de stockage. On n'a pas assez d'infrastructures de stockage. On parle souvent des nous, on parle de services transfrontaliers. Et souvent, on ne voit pas les États s'associer pour faire, par exemple, des infrastructures de transformation. Pourquoi tous les pays veulent faire la formation? Pourquoi tous les pays veulent faire la même chose, par exemple? Il suffit qu'un pays fasse une usine pour que tous les autres... L'irrigation, justement, pour la sécurité alimentaire. Et l'autre, la production des qui pensent avoir un potentiel, se sont dit tous qu'ils vont faire des usines, d'engrais. Mais les défis sont aujourd'hui de souveraineté alimentaire et d'industrialisation dans le domaine de l'agriculture. Mais nous attendons beaucoup, parce que comme quelqu'un l'a dit, c'est le privé qui produit les richesses, hein, mais c'est au privé d'investir. Et je pense que c'est un grand défi. Je ne sais pas comment on va, probablement qu'on doit le régler au niveau politique aussi. Comment amener le privé ouest-africain à s'investir davantage dans le secteur de l'agriculture, de l'élevage et de la pêche. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. We have to my clock exactly 27 minutes for this panel, even if it was seeming a little long. So we have 6 interventions. So if we divide, we are exactly around 5 minutes. I believe all the panelists deserve a big round of applause. So thank you so much, Madam Moderator. I think we are done with this panel. We can open up for questions and answers if you have. Please be extremely brief, maybe 1 minute, and then we will conclude on this. Do we have questions? Wow, so many questions. Okay, so we will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. So please, let's be extremely brief. 1 minute for the question, straight to the point. Thank you. So 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Dallas Chima from Foodwork Africa.
Merci.
Yeah. When the panelists were speaking, a very important point they didn't talk about is a regulatory framework. One of the challenges food processors have is that when they process a product and want to move it into the market in the region, or another country within a region, they face challenges of regulators, like NAFDAC or DFA in Ghana. Your branding or your regulatory perspective has to be very, very fast-tracked, because when you move into the market and you see a product doesn't meet the criteria, and you're left in the dark. You have to move your product back to base, and this affects investment. So what is this forum going to do to create a regional fast-track regulatory collaboration within countries in the region or West Africa or the Sahel to make sure that processors of food products have a one-stop channel whereby regulatory frameworks are met to move their products into ready markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Two.
OK. Merci beaucoup, Président. Et encore, je saisis l'occasion pour remercier et féliciter vraiment les panélistes. Moi, j'ai une question et un commentaire. Une question suite à la présentation du directeur de cabinet du ministère de l'Agriculture du Burkina Faso. Il y a un aspect que j'ai trouvé très intéressant en ce qui concerne le fait de rendre d'utilité publique les retenues, les mares, les retenues d'eau. Vraiment, ça, c'est une nouvelle donne. Je voulais savoir quel est le cadre réglementaire qui est mis en place, parce que ça, on le connaît quand on fait les routes et autres, on rend d'utilité publique certaines localités. Vraiment, ça, c'est une nouvelle donne que je voulais partager. L'autre, c'est un commentaire. C'est-à-dire, au niveau du Mali, le ministère de l'Agriculture est dans une procédure de contractualisation, n'est-ce pas? Parce qu'il faut avoir un lien entre l'agriculture et l'industrie et créer un cadre pour pouvoir développer ce partenariat. Donc, au niveau du ministère, il s'agit de contractualiser, n'est-ce pas, un partenariat entre les interprofessions, que ce soit interprofession, riz, mangue, etc., et les unités industrielles. Récemment, nous avons vu au niveau national des contrats qui ont été carrément signés entre ces interprofessions et une entreprise privée de la place qui fait la transformation des produits en termes d'huile. Donc, je crois que c'est une dynamique aussi à partager et à saluer, et nous sommes résolument engagés dans ça à travers notre ministre de l'Agriculture, j'ai nommé M. Daniel Simeon Clément. Merci beaucoup, c'est ce que j'avais à dire.
Merci bien. The third question was around there. Sir, yeah. Please, the floor is yours. Yes. The mic is on the table, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My submission is regarding quality standards. When we are talking about production of food items to gain market access, I think the aspect of quality becomes very important, even when we are exchanging food products among ourselves. But I'm believing very strongly that if FAO could support member countries with farm gate processing equipment and also quality standard laboratories, their products will definitely access external markets. Take an example of Morocco. Morocco is already exporting very easily to the European Union. And traceability on the farms becomes important so that invariably the consumer of the food items will make sure that they are conforming with the phytosanitary requirements of the export markets. Those are just the areas I intend to mention, and I think finally investors can come in to support on setting up of laboratories, which will support member countries from of assuring that the quality required in external markets are met. And among ourselves, I remember the ASO, African Standards, Regional Standards Organization, had a summit here in Abuja last year, where it was mentioned that member countries, even in AFA, African Continental Free Trade, must ensure that there is uniformity in quality of products for easy access to regional markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We had the fourth question. It was around here. Yeah.
Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais commencer par un cri de cœur par rapport au fait que nos États sont fragiles. En prenant l'exemple du SILS, Monsieur le secrétaire exécutif, nous savons que le fleuve Niger et ses affluents dominent plus d'une quinzaine de pays. Donc c'est un bien commun à nous tous. Aujourd'hui, puisque nous parlons d'irrigation, ce fleuve-là est pratiquement envasé. Quelles sont les initiatives pour rétablir ceci, puisque c'est un bien vraiment de la sous-région? Derrière, je voudrais revenir aussi pour dire que lorsqu'on parle de la contribution du secteur privé et que l'État ne devait pas trop s'engager dans des initiatives créatrices de richesses, nos économies sont actuellement assez fragiles. Est-ce que pour des investissements assez lourds, les investisseurs privés qui ont besoin de gagner de l'argent, est-ce qu'ils accepteraient prendre leur argent pour rentrer dans l'aménagement de ces infrastructures de base où le retour sur investissement va demander beaucoup de temps? En tout cas, moi, je dirais la réponse est non. Et je voudrais vraiment que nos États prennent sur eux de prendre la base des investissements, en tout cas rendre attrayant le secteur afin que le secteur privé puisse arriver. Donc voilà un peu ce dont j'avais ajouté dans le truc. Merci.
D'accord, merci bien. There were a question here. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is economist, President CEO, Reed Valley Consultants, Nigeria. My own will be recommendation or suggestions, because we have dealt with different problems across the Sahel countries. How do we move forward? A number of recommendations or proposals have been suggested. But for me, I feel that in order to achieve what I would describe as hand-in-hand holistic food solution for the Sahel in particular, Africa in general, which has 1.4 billion people, we need to anchor this on what the stakeholders, what I would call 5-pillar solution. The first pillar is individual. At the individual level, what will be their contribution to solving the food problem we have in the Sahel? What resources do we need to gain from them? And what benefit do we need to give to them? The second pillar of my recommendation will be what will be the role of private sector in food production, food distribution, and in solving the Sahel food agricultural issues that we are talking about. And how do we support them? The third pillar will rest on the public sector. Strongly believe that the solution to hand-in-hand initiative cannot be solved by only one sector. So what will be the attraction from the public sector? Governments should not leave the solution only putting to the solutions that we are talking about. The last will be what I will call partner pillars. FAO, thank you for what you have done in Africa, in the Sahel. Thank you for what you are doing. Thank you for more of what you will do. So there will also be what we call blended partnership. If each country goes home from this conference with these 5 pillars, they would set it as objective, come out with individual country and then collaboration for strategies that will achieve this. So 5-pillar holistic solution, in my mind, will contribute to part of the way forward to have hand-in-hand initiative towards a...
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We had,
yeah.
Okay.
I am His Royal Highness Zidafamo from the State Council.
Okay.
The countries have come up with strategies on irrigation. We'll look at that irrigation is very essential. Irrigation cannot really come up on the bare ground that a land is irrigated. It is the input, particularly seed that is put there, but in crop production, that really bring about the efficiency of any irrigation facility that you put in place. So looking from that angle, I want to talk about the seed itself. It's very important in enhancing productivity and looking at water use efficient crop varietal development is very essential. It's a key area that investment can really go into that will bring about high productivity varieties, developing them for use within these areas that will be really developed for irrigation is very essential. Someone has talked about quality of food products.
If we can summarize.
That. So this is my submission.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have the last one, and then.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Waneli Olubukola from Nigeria Agribusiness Group. My question goes to the representative of the Honorable Minister. When you were speaking, you talked about the SAPZ zones, that we have 8 states running on that now, and we're going to expand to another 28 states, right? My question is, why doing this? We are talking about food security and trying to reduce post-harvest losses, especially in the perishable food sector. How fast can this be ramped up? That is the processing hubs for each of the states. And are the state governments being carried along? And apart from the state government, we know that the private sector drives any initiative if we want it to be a success. How well are we hand-holding the private sectors to deliver this? And the other agencies like the NABG, how well are we working together? Because I know that NABG is especially, we're promoting a lot of policies, including the agro-commodity standards and grading system policy that has been handed over to the federal government through the Minister of Agri. So I would like a bit of expansion on this as we are looking at export markets for our products in Nigeria, because either we like it or not, Nigeria is arguably the biggest economy in Africa. So we should be exporting, not importing food products. And to achieve this, we really need to sit down and take a very critical look at the processing sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Most questions are rather comments, so we have a last one here. Please be brief so that we give time for the panelists to, thank you.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Moi, je voulais juste apporter une petite précision et puis une question. Donc, la petite précision que je voulais faire, c'est que au niveau de la Mauritanie, nous sommes arrivés pratiquement à l'autosuffisance en riz grâce à un mécanisme qui nous a permis d'imposer aux importateurs de riz nationaux d'acheter du riz national d'abord avant d'importer. Et donc, au fur et à mesure que les productions ont augmenté, les importations ont diminué drastiquement. La question que je voulais poser, c'est que je voulais poser une question aux représentants du Burkina Faso pour savoir qu'est-ce qui est fait dans le pays en matière de délégation, de gestion des infrastructures agricoles pour les communautés rurales et pour le privé. Je vous remercie.
OK. Merci beaucoup. Most questions are comments. I believe we have the rapporteurs. I believe these comments add to our forum. Regulations, fast-tracking it, contractualizing agriculture, importance of zone d'utilité publique, quality standards, importance of making the biggest investment in terms of heavy infrastructure from the government, role of the private sector, importance of seed systems and research, importance of public-private partnership, and the case of experience sharing from Mauritania in terms of how is it that Burkina Faso is managing infrastructure. So most are questions, but we can gather them and give our panelists 1 minute each, just 1 minute to conclude on this session, given the interventions. Donc, on va donner 1 minute par panéliste pour pouvoir juste donner un mot de clôture. Merci bien. Donc, on commence par, nous n'avons pas de micro. Okay.
Merci à monsieur le modérateur et merci aux participants qui ont bien voulu nous adresser quelques questions. Alors, pour mon cher ami du Mali, la question de la zone d'utilité publique, comme je le disais tantôt, c'est le retour d'expérience qui nous a amené à comprendre qu'il faut que l'État récupère les grands bassins de production. C'est là où nous pouvons véritablement accroître de façon substantielle les productions agricoles. Donc, nous en faisons des zones d'utilité publique. C'est acté par un décret pris en Conseil des ministres, après avoir purgé les droits des personnes privées, notamment les exploitants agricoles. Et dès lors, l'État a la latitude de l'utilisation de ces zones d'utilité publique. Pour les plans d'eau également, vous savez que nous avons, depuis fin 2023, lancé une initiative qu'on appelle Offensive agro-pastorale et halieutique avec 8 filières majeures, dont la production piscicole à cage flottante. Donc pratiquement tous nos plans d'eau sont submergés par le secteur privé avec des cages flottantes pour la production piscicole. Ça, c'est dans l'intention de couvrir 50% de nos besoins d'ici la fin de cette année et éventuellement d'ici 2027, de couvrir l'entièreté de nos besoins en poissons. Ça rejoint ce que mon cher ami de la Mauritanie disait tantôt. Nous sommes aussi dans cette dynamique de réduire les importations au fur et à mesure que la production nationale couvre les besoins nationaux. Nous sommes dans cette dynamique et nous allons continuer ainsi pour susciter donc l'engagement des nationaux à produire et également faire un peu frein à la sortie de nos devises. Les investissements lourds pour le secteur privé, c'est vrai que c'est lourd, mais dans le cas spécifique du Burkina, nous avons adopté des textes qui réglementent justement les conditions d'aménagement et d'exploitation de ces périmètres-là par le secteur privé, assortis d'un cahier de charges. Nous avons fait des simulations. Pour un investissement de 3 milliards pour un privé, dans des cas précis, au bout de 3 ans, il a son retour sur l'investissement et il a son bénéfice. Généralement, c'est des bails amphithéotiques que nous accordons selon l'ampleur de l'investissement sur 15, 20 ans. Ça dépend. Donc, au bout de 4 ans, vous avez votre retour sur l'investissement, vous avez commencé à faire vos bénéfices. Si vous avez 15 ans d'exploitation, c'est tout béni. Donc, c'est vrai que ce cahier de charges définit quelle est la responsabilité de l'État. Le plan d'eau, le barrage est peut-être réalisé par l'État. Les canaux primaires importants par l'État. On définit clairement quelle est la part de responsabilité du privé, qui, sans toute connaissance de cause, s'engage. Donc, généralement, dans notre cas de figure, ce n'est pas exorbitant les coûts. Alors, pour la gestion des infrastructures, je pense que depuis avant-hier, on en parle, des investissements lourds qui ne sont pas entretenus, il n'y a pas de maintenance. Au bout de 10 ans, il faut repartir à zéro. Donc, nous avons mis en place une société d'État qui porte la gestion de ces infrastructures d'irrigation. Donc, qui prélève, qui perçoit les taxes d'aménagement, la redevance d'eau, qui a une équipe qui fait l'entretien au quotidien pratiquement et qui, donc, avec les fonds mobilisés, avec aussi une contribution de l'État, on recrute des entreprises pour les petits travaux d'entretien qui va rallonger la durée de vie de l'infrastructure. Donc, voilà un peu ce que nous avons trouvé comme solution pour parer justement à cette situation-là. Merci bien.
Merci bien. Other panelists would like to Yeah, Nigeria has been called upon.
Yeah, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say very clearly that SAPZ did not just erupt like a volcano. It's a product of demand from the private sector, and that is why it's designed to be private sector-led but government-enabled. So it opens an additional market outlet to the smallholder farmers as well as other producers. So that is essentially to address the post-harvest losses and improving the value addition. Now, what we're doing right now is because of limited access. We have only catalytic funding, and that is why the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON, also canvassed for more funding from the international development institutions like Islamic Development Bank, International Fund for Agricultural Development, and African Development Bank. So a lot of them are mobilizing this fund to scale it up in order to create impact and expand the blessing of liberty to our farmers. And we're looking at financing the smallholder farmers in order to take this opportunity to scale up their production and change the market to be existing. Like, for instance, remember what Dangote tomato processing plant, what the MD said a few days back. They opened up the processing factories, but they could not get enough raw material to feed the factory. In 3 months, the tomato being produced will disappear from the market. But we need more than what will be enough to sustain running a processing industries. So that's why no matter what we produce, if we have enough processing outlet, it will be absorbed. So it's a new opportunity for farmers, it's a new way to make more money, and the youth can key into this because it will transform the nation food system and expand the size of our middle class. This thing goes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I believe we are done with the questions, unless another panelist wants to take the floor. Yeah, so the SEALs have received a question and would like to address. La parole est à vous pour adresser la question aux SEALs.
Merci beaucoup. C'est une question sur le fleuve Niger. Et je voudrais dire qu'au niveau de la région, il y a la sécurisation des eaux transfrontalières est une préoccupation. Et le projet de rêve dont on parlait hier de la Banque mondiale, un de ces 3 pôles, c'est la sécurisation des eaux transfrontalières. Il y a une autorité qui s'occupe, des autorités qui s'occupent de chacun de ces bassins. Pour le cas du Niger, c'est l'autorité du bassin du Niger. Certainement qu'ils auraient pu mieux répondre que moi. Mais vu d'ici, nous, on considère que ces questions d'ensablement des bassins, elles interviennent en amont. Parce que c'est lié à la dégradation des écosystèmes. Et c'est pour ça que nous sommes en train d'élaborer un programme régional sur la restauration des écosystèmes et la sécurité alimentaire. Voilà, donc nous organiserons d'ailleurs un colloque sur ça en juin 2026. Je suis d'accord avec ce que le Burkina est en train de faire. Dans mon passé, j'étais un chercheur sur le foncier et le constat principal, c'est que pour modifier les droits fonciers dans nos pays, il faut toujours une intervention de la puissance publique. S'il n'y a pas d'intervention de la puissance publique, on ne peut pas modifier les droits. Je répondais toujours aux gens qui disent qu'il faut que les femmes aient accès à la puissance publique ou alors les terres qui ont un enjeu économique important. Et là, les femmes qui ont de l'argent peuvent acheter le foncier aux alentours d'Abuja ou aux alentours d'une autre ville parce que c'est important. Laissez-moi terminer sur la question du privé et des États. Je pense que souvent c'est une question de conception. La dernière intervention du représentant du Nigeria sur l'infrastructure, la transformation de la tomate, mais qui n'a pas de tomate. C'est la même chose que j'ai dit toujours aux gens. Mais vous dites que vous allez faire un abattoir frigorifique, mais vous ne vous êtes même pas assuré le bassin d'approvisionnement de l'abattoir. Mais forcément, dans 6 mois, ça va fermer. Une infrastructure à elle seule, quelle que soit sa qualité, ne veut rien dire si elle n'est pas dans une dynamique. Elle ne répond pas à une dynamique qui est là, parce qu'il y a suffisamment de production. Merci, Madame la modératrice principale. Merci.
So, a big applause for this session. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mrs. Moderator.
Thank you so very much. I think they deserve a louder round of applause. And Chair, and for you as well, we'll have a group photograph with you, the group. I think they were very lucky. And I'm sure that we have been able to learn from them going forward. A group photograph. Can you please move to the center so that everyone is captured? Thank you very much for this panel. We would break now, yes, for lunch, and be back for the break out into partnership discussion and bilateral meetings. But before we go, yes, yes, please.
Yeah, the list will be projected and the designated.
Okay. The list will, yeah. There's a panel now? Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Jabudi is going to facilitate, Musa? Yes, there's a panel now. Sorry. Sorry about the mix-up.
We start by just hearing a presentation from
who now?
This a keynote presentation from Mr.
Okay.
Sinda Sandia.
All right.
Connected.
Okay. Is that all we are listening to before we go to lunch?
Yeah.
Okay. We have our keynote speaker from America. You know, they're just waking up now, but she's ready. Please, can we settle down so that we can listen to her? Mrs. Lucinda Sadrian, Managing Director of Capital Navigation Strategies. So she's connected online. Please, can we have her? She's connected online. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, good afternoon there. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, please.
Wonderful. Good morning, good afternoon there. First, I'd like to thank FAO for inviting me to this very important forum to support agri-food systems in West Africa in the Sahel region. To give you a little bit of background on who I am and what I do, my expertise is raising capital for the private sector and public sector in developing countries. I'm an alumni of the International Finance Corporation by IFC at the World Bank, and now I privately help companies and governments raise capital for their various business projects, including agribusiness, which was a major portion of my work. I'm here today to talk to you about mobilizing private sector investment for agri-food systems transformation. Can you see the presentation okay?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. The anchor to attracting foreign direct investment and private sector investment into any government in any country is to make it attractive for investors to feel certainty about where their investment dollars are going, how they're going to be used, and creating a But they're going to want to have majority control because this is what their expertise and liberal profit repatriation policies, special economic zones and industrial parks set up for food products with dedicated infrastructure and tax benefits, and very importantly, single window clearance for special economic zones so that approvals can be streamlined and permits can be obtained through a single point of contact. Again, that goes hand in hand with the ease of doing business. Public-private partnership frameworks can be amazing. They create a legal framework to allow joint ventures between governments and foreign investors for perhaps food production, food processing. I worked on a project like this related to expansion of a port where a strategic investor was going to build, it was a fishery area, aquaculture, so they were going to build a fish processing facility, and part of the financing agreement with the development bank was that the strategic investor that was building the fish processing facility would need to allow local fishermen to process, store, cold chain, refrigeration, etc., their fish for 20% of the facility. And for that, they got very reduced pricing in financing the construction of the facility. So it's a huge win-win for the country, for the local fishermen, as well as the strategic investor. Targeted investor outreach, active engagement with major food distribution companies is very helpful. Promotion campaigns at food shows, showcasing the local quality of your food and low-cost production advantages. Sustainability and ESG policies, clear commitment to sustainable agriculture, be that organic, water conservation, and ethical labor practices. This is an increasingly very important requirement to attract investors, so it's not one of those sounds nice if we can do it. It's really becoming very, very important to attract investment. And then, of course, macroeconomic stability on foreign currency exchange rates, inflation control, and political predictability that lowers the country risk perception. So what I thought I'd do, that was a lot, I know, that I just gave you. What I thought I would do is give you a sample of a government policy framework to enable a financeable project. Okay? So as a suggestion, perhaps implement an Agribusiness Investment Act that would protect foreign investors' rights, including profit repatriation. Guarantee land leasing rights for agriculture and agro-processing. Streamline the agri and agro-processing licensing under a one-stop shop system, such as I had mentioned before, under special economic zones. This is absolutely job one to attract investment. Strong contract enforcement and dispute resolution mechanism. From a fiscal and financial incentive perspective, corporate tax holidays could be offered, 5 years, 10 years for food processing facilities. As an example, when the Ukraine war started, obviously many people from Ukraine were moving into Poland. Poland did an amazing job of providing a lot of tax incentives for international companies to come into Poland to support all these Ukrainian refugees who had come into the country. They reacted very quickly and very efficiently. It was really quite impressive. Similar type of strategies obviously would fit very well in food processing in West Africa and the Sahel region. Perhaps duty-free imports on machinery, irrigation, crop seeds, fertilizers, pest control products. Perhaps implement export rebates of, 5%, 10%, whatever seems appropriate, on fruit products exported to African countries. You know, Africa does such an amazing job of growth. We want to build that value chain in Africa, create jobs as part of the agri-food system value chain, and help build the economies more strongly tied to agribusiness. Credit guarantees, partial risk guarantees can be, as I mentioned before, perhaps a 10% first loss on loans tied to agribusiness value chain. Infrastructure, special economic zones located near food processing facilities, dedicated logistics corridors for roads, rail, ports, packaging, cold chain storage. You know, I talked to one country after FAO's hand-in-hand conference in Rome last year, and the country had shared with me they invested quite a lot in cold chain storage, but they overlooked having proper packaging. So what they found was the growers were producing more crop in anticipation of the cold chain storage, but they overlooked increasing proper packaging, and a lot of that food continues to spoil. So, you know, it's the whole value chain that we really need to think about when we're moving forward. Reliable power obviously has a lot to do with cold chain storage, as well as digital communication, to become part of the digital world and take advantage of technologies and fiber optics, internet, mobile communications, and waste management. Perhaps it would be useful to launch a national agribusiness skills academy, co-financing programs for digital transformation to take advantage of the many digital tools for proper seed selection for a given crop and a given geographic footprint. Market access strategies is becoming more and more attractive to investors. And then also, of course, enforcing environmental standards via perhaps incentives for sustainable agriculture, and mandatory social audits for sectors that are challenged by ESG-type issues. That is quite important on certain kinds of agribusiness crops that are grown, as well as in certain regions, livestock, fisheries. You know, overfishing is depleting the food source, so that's, again, where we get into the sustainable agriculture. We want to invest in practices that are going to increase the yield, increase the supply for the long term. So those are my thoughts on government policies that can really be very persuasive in bringing investors into a region. Now on to raising the capital. What kind of sources of, on the debt side, on the lending side, it could be senior debt, working capital, trade financing, supply chain financing, export financing, term loans and revolving credit, bridge loans to do a short period of time until you can secure a term loan, credit enhancements, concessional capital, which is becoming scarcer and scarcer all the time. So these government policies are becoming critically important. Project finance for greenfield projects, construction finance, mortgage loans, securitizing receivables, structured finance, sub-debt, mezdebt, convertible debt, a whole host of different types of lending products that can be used to support the agribusiness value chain, be that crop production and growing, be that food processing, be that fisheries, poultry producers, or livestock producers. On the equity side, you've got common and preferred equity, joint venture funding, promoted equity, special purpose vehicle funding, and limited partnership equity. There's a wide variety of financing tools that can be leveraged to be tailor-fit to the opportunity being presented, whether it's a government project, or it's a private sector project, or a cooperative project that needs capital to grow. Sources of international capital, I work with all of these. You have pension funds, they can be sovereign pension funds, public pension funds, or private corporate pension funds. Insurance companies, asset managers, endowments can be very attractive, and foundations. Sovereign wealth funds do a lot of work in this space. Some sovereign wealth funds are highly dedicated to agribusiness. Private credit funds and private equity firms, like the fishery processing plan I was mentioning earlier. BDCs are business development corporations, hedge funds, venture capital funds. The IFIs, the development banks and development finance institutions, such as the World Bank, Africa Development Bank, Southern Africa Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank. We have export-import banks. So where does that help you? Let's say you want to buy irrigation, and that irrigation technology is being produced, say, in Germany. Well, the Export-Import Bank in Germany is very eager to help its German manufacturer, concerned with helping the companies in their country sell product. So they are going to be very interested to help facilitate the purchase of that irrigation technology coming in to West Africa. Impact investment funds. These funds will only invest in projects that have a strong development impact, and they're very focused on measuring that impact. Blended finance institutions are also a great source of capital. Concessionary funds, which there are less and less of all the time. Non-bank banks and commercial banks. These are what I view as the major sources of capital for agribusiness and the agribusiness value chain. I hope that was helpful. I'd be more than delighted to answer any questions folks may have.
Round and for the panel discussion. At this moment, I'd like to call on my brother, who is also the president, Musa. Yes, Musa is going to facilitate the next session, and he will call on the chair of the panel. And I won't leave him until I have a presidential handshake, because they call him Musa the President.
Hello? Yes, Madam Muji, you are a good citizen. I will take that into consideration. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We had already 2 long days, and now I don't know if we are lucky to be one of the last panel. Since you are talking about business, you are talking about private sector, it is even better for a president. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Bintia. Yes, I was just trying to say that I know that it's a bit complicated because this is the last session, if I'm not wrong. Since you are talking about private sector, talking about business, we are really happy that the session will go very well. If you don't mind, how many minutes do we have for the session to help to 40? You remove 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. We try to manage like that. Someone will help also. Yes, let me call upon the chair of the session, Mr. Ongon Obam, who is the FAO representative to Chad, to chair the session, and he will announce the list of the panelists. Please, Mr. Ongon. Please clap for him to encourage him. Okay.
nous allons ouvrir cette session avec un certain nombre de panélistes sur la thématique qui a déjà commencé à être présentée tout à l'heure. Comment mobiliser les investissements du secteur privé pour la transformation des systèmes agroalimentaires. Après cette première présentation que nous avons tous suivie en ligne, nous allons inviter un certain nombre de participants, des intervenants, qui vont partager un peu leurs expériences. Nous venons d'écouter Madame Lucinda. Nous allons appeler Monsieur Ayodeji Balogun de Afex Commodities, s'il est dans la salle, qu'il veuille bien nous rejoindre sur le podium. Est-ce que Afex Commodities est représenté ici? Alors, nous allons inviter le docteur Gianni Ibrahim de la Chambre de commerce et d'industrie des mines et de l'agriculture du Nigeria. S'il est dans la salle, qu'il veuille bien nous rejoindre sur le podium. Ensuite, le prochain intervenant, c'est le groupe BUA Group. Monsieur Abdul Salam Rabiou, président PDG, s'il est dans la salle, qu'il veuille bien nous rejoindre aussi sur le podium. Pour nous partager leurs expériences d'investissement privé. Enfin, nous invitons la Dansa Holding Limited. Est-ce qu'elle est représentée dans la salle également, pour qu'elle puisse nous rejoindre sur le podium? Mais le groupe Afex, finalement, ils ne sont pas dans la salle. En dernier, nous allons appeler le groupe Mirisal, Monsieur Paul, s'il est dans la salle, qu'il veuille bien nous rejoindre sur le podium. Est-ce qu'il est dans la salle? Okay. Très bien. Alors, je pense pour gagner du temps, nous allons directement commencer avec les trois intervenants qui sont présents. Et nous allons véritablement faire un peu d'effort pour bien gérer le temps. Nous allons donner maximum 5 minutes à chaque intervenant. 5 minutes for each. Donner la parole à l'assistante pour des éventuelles interventions, questions. Commencer par le bout. Lui donner la parole. Ok, je vais venir sur le podium. Ok, merci. Donc, nous allons commencer les interventions. Pas commencer, nous allons confier la directrice générale de Capitol Navigation. Monsieur malheureusement Ayodeji Balogun de AFEX n'est pas présent. Donc nous donnons la parole au
Nasima. My name is Architect Kabir Ibrahim. His name is Jani Ibrahim. We've listened to everything that has been laid out here, and we see growth in the Sahel. And we're looking at staples in the Sahel. And we believe that the optimization in this region, and we at the other part of Africa, that they are also us. And everybody will now attain some form of prosperity, and therefore will have food security. So the encouragement that we need to seize access to finance, security of finance, this of well-founded and fully invested businesses that had to close at some point because of lack of continuous flow of raw material. That is an inhibiting factor in commercialization or industrialization. We must to scale so that they would feed our industrial bases. Otherwise, you know, we will...
Just a second, please, with the permission of the chair. Since you are a consortium of, we are talking about National Chamber.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, we would like really to go straight and see what team have been able to implement that you can share with the audience here. And also, if there has been some risk, how have you been able to de-risk, encourage the private sector to really give concrete example, if possible, for other people also to learn from your experience, please?
Well, I will just take one business conglomerate in Nigeria and tell you what I know they have been doing, and they have been very successful. Look at the tropical general investments. They promote Wakot rice, for instance. Their operations in the Northwest, where they are making smallholder farmers outgrowers. They are incentivizing them with inputs, and they are guaranteeing them market. They are doing an inclusive business, and they have attracted donor financing from BMGF, for instance. And they are enjoying public finance, or public support, first from the Kebbi state government and Nigeria as a whole. And they are able to expand their businesses continuously and keep people, smallholder people in business there around. You know, in that region, there is a lot of water, and they do this production, they encourage production to be all year round. So these are some of the incentives that are very clear. And this will be, it's replicated in many other areas. I mean, I don't want to talk for Dansa or Dangote Group. You know, look at what they have done around Kura. In fact, the model was in consonance with this kind of thing. They got very lucrative financing from CBN, but I will allow them to talk about it. They had their operations. They engaged some smallholder farmers, but there is a problem of loyalty. The smallholder farmers were not loyal, and the production base for the smallholder farmers was limited, and therefore, because of the capacity, they have closed. Now, I am talking from 2 points. Here, you can see success when this is done properly. Now, you can see lack of it when there is a disconnect. But this is what happens to agribusiness, because you rely on the smallholder farmer as the engine room of growth of that thing. And then when the smallholder farmer is not properly incentivized, they can look elsewhere. they can become complacent if you are pampering them. Sometimes when there is a government policy that even makes them lethargic, you can suffer, your business can suffer. But if there is a business, stop here because the anchor is telling me to stop. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Please can we give a round of applause for him? Yeah. Thank you very much. Then we come back later on if there is need for more details and no interaction. It is very appreciated. Yeah. With the permission of the chair, let's move to the next. I think we have been seeing you since the thing, and they couldn't do otherwise because Dangote Group is one of the biggest actors in the development sector. And you have been sharing all your troubles, if I can say, but also good things. But we heard about this issue of trust and so on. We'll be happy to see, apart from those issues that you are having or you had, we'll be happy to know also which kind of financing model, it could be even in another sector that could inspire investment, irrigation, or whatever. Then we'll be happy to see financing model, and especially for the de-risking system, which kind of specific measures you have, please. 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Sorry you've been seeing my face for too long.
It's a pleasure.
So, financing model for any project depends on certain factors. Your financiers have to be convinced first about the viability of that project. How viable is that project before they can give you their funds? And part of those parameters to be assessed, apart from your environmental factors, security factor is very critical. Infrastructure is very critical. How do you get your raw materials? Energy availability, water, and other support services, including incentives from the government. And this is what is enabling environment all about. Because like my friend here said, a typical case is this special agri-processing zones that the representative of the minister spoke about this morning. The government convinced us that, look, we are setting up these zones, we'll provide them with cheap source of energy, water, good logistics. Go and site your factories there, and we'll support you with those infrastructure. We rushed quickly to take advantage of that. 8 years now down the line, not a single block has been laid for that processing zone. Middle of the ocean. We've gone in deep, we can't get out. Because the factory cannot operate due to lack of all these support services. So what do we do? Like I said yesterday, I said, look, all of us here are experts in various fields in agriculture across the Sahel region. We know our problems. We know our solutions over the years. But why is it we are not moving towards those solutions? Now, if you look at all those declarations, the Maputo Declaration, the Malabo Declaration by AU countries, where they all pledged to at least invest 10% of their national budgets into agriculture. To date, we are talking of something starting since 2003. To date, Nigeria in particular, agri budget has been always less than 2%. So with that, how do they provide the enabling environment for any investor, except those who are risk averse. That's when they will say, look, let's give it a try. But once those environmental requirements are not there, now for you to do any commercial agriculture, private investor, one, you need the land. You need the services, roads and other logistics, energy. Three, you need to work with the farmers around your factory as outgrowers or ingrowers if the land is yours. But in smallholder farmers, much as you want to work with them to develop them also, they are looking at you as their main source of revenue. They know they will collect your money for seeds and other inputs, they will harvest, they will not deliver. You cannot do anything to them. Because, as they say, whoever comes to equity should come with clean hand. These farmers don't have any tangible assets to give you for what you are giving them. So what happens if they default? You have nothing to fall back to. And you don't have the land to cultivate yourself. So invariably, the project will die down. You, the investor, will have to lick your wounds, look for where to get money and pay the banks. So governments are very central to the success of all to give that financing of the infrastructure. Once you have those in place, you don't have to call any investor. He will come himself. But that is why year in, year out, we know for international donors. You'll be surprised, Nigeria today, average density of tractors is tractors available. So obviously, there's no mechanization virtually. People have to still continue with the traditional method of farming. How do we feed ourselves with the growing population every day? You can't. But how do you mechanize? What will he do with a tractor? So servicing outfits across the local environments. And the government should come in, regulate the prices of land clearing per hectare, acre, so that the farmer will just pay this, and one up in few hours you clear his land and it's good to go. How can a small, older farmer handle a tractor? Recently in Nigeria, we inaugurated 2,000 tractors in the country. But from World Bank estimates, the total tractors available in Nigeria is 54,000 tractors. The home requirement is almost around 100,000 tractors. Home requirement is almost around 100,000 tractors. So you see there is disconnect between the investor, the government. So all these are issues which we know exist and which we know how to tackle them. But the willpower to do so.
There are so many to be done, and it's raising again the question on make sure that, over to you.
Thank you very much. Agri-food systems, process of creating an enabling environment for investors to fund agriculture, which is facilitating access to finance. If people don't have the money to invest in agri-food systems, then our 3-day experience here is a failure entirely. So the Nigeria Incentive Risk Sharing System for Agricultural Lending was created by the Central Bank of Nigeria, and it is wholly owned by the same institution. What we do is to help investors or farmers to get funding from the private sector. using bank portfolios. We do that by providing a credit risk scheme, up to 30 or 75% to assure the banks or the financial institutions that those who are taking up these funds to invest in agriculture, peradventure they are unable to pay the money, we pay on their behalf. And this has been a huge success because since 2013 to date, we have facilitated up to 280 billion into investments into agriculture. And out of those 280 billion, we have had defaults of about 4.6 billion. And again, we have modalities to recover those finances. We were able to recover about 4.2 billion. So what is lying outside of the portfolio that has been facilitated into agri-investment is just about 4 billion. So what is curious and what should be a lesson for me, and I think anybody in the room here who is interested in facilitating finance to agribusinesses, is to see what NISA has done within the region, to see that similar schemes are also replicated elsewhere. So thank God you are fully aware. I don't know you're so versatile, but you know that the Nigeria Incentive-Based Risk Sharing System handheld the Ghana, a sister organization, to create itself. And Ghana is also doing fantastically well with that, and also with Togo. We would like to encourage, since this is a regional forum, that countries where such credit risk sharing system are non-existent, to please take a cue from what we're doing and see how they can replicate it. Because if we can't mobilize public funds into investments in agribusinesses within the sub-Saharan region, and like the first or second speaker said, we're always waiting for funds from elsewhere. It will get to a point where we can no longer sustain that. So I think I'm going to be brief. I wanted to go into the frameworks, the financing frameworks that we have, but I don't know if I still have up to 2-3 minutes.
Yes, please.
Okay, so
Please, yeah.
we are able to, thank you, moderator. So to add to that, we are able to structure our whole value systems into segments beginning with the pre-upstream, the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream. So starting from production to market, to ensure that if you are investing into and to uptake your production and provide the funds for the investor or the business promoter to pay back the loans, the public funds from any bank he has taken it. So we have the mechanization framework, which works perfectly well. We have the fertilizer financing framework, and then we also have the agro processing frameworks. There are about 6 of them. I will just mention these 3 just to give a few examples of how the financing works with the banks. So a bank works to us, and then we provide a financing framework to them. They review it, and they make inputs to see that particular bank is in agreement on what risk threshold they can take. We agree to terms, and the financing takes place. So I'm going to stop here to give room for the moderator to continue. Thank you very much.
I will return the floor to the chair to hand over the next part, please, Chair.
OK, merci. Alors, en matière de financement, surtout les investisseurs internationaux, comment peuvent-ils s'installer et investir dans les systèmes agroalimentaires au Sahel? C'est surtout cela que la première présentation nous a expliqué. Et certainement, ça a suscité un certain nombre d'interrogations. On va laisser les gens poser des questions sur ça. Nous allons aussi écouter les 3 autres interventions qui ont suivi. Et certains autres aspects apparaissent ici, mais toujours sur l'accès aux finances. L'accès aux finances pour les petits producteurs, comment font-ils? Il y a des modèles qui ont été partagés. Il y a des structures ici qui sont là pour aider comment on peut accéder à ces financements. Un présentateur est revenu sur la problématique des infrastructures, de l'accès aux terres, d'accès à la terre, que c'est vraiment un problème fondamental au foncier, sans lequel on a de la peine à véritablement encourager les privés, surtout les privés nationaux, à s'investir dans le secteur agricole. Il y a certains aspects qui sont revenus comme la faible mécanisation, très peu de tracteurs. Et ici, il est question de revenir un peu que fait l'État, le secteur public, pour faciliter tout cela. Bon, il y a un intervenant qui a encore fait monter en lumière le fait qu'il y a plusieurs déclarations, que ce soit celle de Maputo ou de Malabo, qui donnent un minimum de financement, un budget public pour le secteur agricole, en donnant un peu l'exemple du Nigeria. Le Nigeria n'est pas le seul pays dans cette situation. On est très loin des 10%. Enfin, toujours l'accès aux finances est un autre modèle qui nous a été présenté à la fin. Mais tout ceci, je suis sûr que ça a suscité un certain nombre d'intérêts de la part surtout des délégations qui reviennent des différents pays. Nous allons vous donner l'opportunité de faire un commentaire, de poser une question pour permettre aux panélistes de réagir à nouveau et pour vous répondre. Donc, si quelqu'un veut prendre la parole, on peut le faire dès maintenant. Je vous remercie. On va encore applaudir les panélistes. OK. Vous là-bas, oui.
Voilà, merci beaucoup. Je remercie les panélistes par rapport au speech qui était vraiment riche. Ceci dit, nous avons des préoccupations parce que notre préoccupation, c'est d'aller de l'avant dans le cadre de la collaboration. C'est ressorti dans les débats comme quoi l'État ne peut pas partir seul parce que nous avons des budgets sous contrainte. Ma question, c'est de savoir, parce qu'au niveau du Sénégal, nous avons opté pour la mécanisation à mettre en place des CUMA, des centres d'utilisation de matériel agricole, en parallèle avec les coopératives qu'on va créer dans. Et pour cela, nous avons opté pour Allo Tracteur. Nous avons opté de vendre des services désormais aux agriculteurs au lieu de mettre à la disposition des agriculteurs des tracteurs. Et ça, nous faisons appel au privé. Et j'ai vu que le représentant de Dangote est revenu là-dessus. Et nous avons, avec le grand transfert qui est initié pour irriguer au moins 28 000 hectares dans le Ferlo, pour être en corrélation avec notre objectif. Alors, la question que je voudrais poser, c'est que est-ce que parmi les panélistes, il y a une leçon apprise qu'on peut amener au niveau du pays pour consolider ce qu'on est en train de faire dans le cadre du partenariat public-privé, pour au moins emblaver c'est 28 000 hectares dans le Ferlo avec les 3 points de piquage du grand transfert d'eau qu'on va prendre à partir du lac de Guerre. Ça, c'est la première question. La deuxième question, c'est par rapport au financement. Vous savez que souvent, par rapport au financement, avec les coopératives qu'on va mettre en place, effectivement, nous avons des instruments, nous avons des fonds de garantie, nous avons aussi le fonds 6. Mais je voudrais poser la question à savoir, est-ce qu'actuellement, par rapport au financement à coût partagé, vous avez des expériences à partager avec nous? Merci.
OK, la question est notée. Je pense que tous les panélistes peuvent y répondre. Hein. On prend une deuxième question? Oui.
On prend un lot de questions parce qu'ils nous disent que le temps est pressé. On prend juste un premier lot et on répond une fois pour toutes. Je crois que c'est mieux.
Une deuxième intervention?
Et il y a aussi la dame qui est connectée, hein, s'ils ont des questions.
Elle
voilà,
suit,
merci.
Oui, allez-y.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Moi, je voudrais faire une contribution à la lumière des forums que nous avons organisés récemment, où il y a eu des panels de haut niveau sur les questions sur l'engagement du privé. On l'a fait dans le cadre de l'élevage et du pastoralisme, on l'a fait dans le cadre de l'irrigation. Une des questions qui a fait débat, c'était le lien entre le privé professionnel, comme vous, et le privé paysan. Parce que les organisations des producteurs en Afrique de l'Ouest disent toujours que le premier privé, c'est eux-mêmes, c'est les paysans. Comment faire le lien entre le professionnel et le paysan? Et ce matin, on avait donné l'exemple des infrastructures, que ce soit dans le cadre de la transformation de la tomate, on a parlé de la tomate, ou que ce soit pour l'élevage. Et toujours la question, c'est comment le professionnel travaille avec le paysan. Ça, c'est une première problématique. La deuxième, je suis dans des tracteurs là, c'est que les petits producteurs ont souvent, ça c'est la deuxième question, ont souvent difficilement accès au financement au niveau des banques commerciales. Parce que les seuils d'emprunt souvent sont plus élevés que ceux qu'ils recherchent même. Souvent, un petit paysan ne cherche que 2 millions, 3 millions, 5 millions. Et souvent, ce type de guichet n'existe même pas. Comment l'État facilite ces relations? Parce que souvent, c'est sous son leadership qu'il est possible d'avancer sur ces problématiques-là. Voilà les questions qui ont été débattues lors.
Le présentateur, le communicateur du Burkina, tout à l'heure, a parlé d'expropriation des terres pour l'installation des infrastructures d'irrigation réduites. Sinon que ces infrastructures de ces petits producteurs, l'expropriation, on le fait, après, sont négligées et pénalisées. Donc, je propose une idée de cluster autour duquel on organise ces petits que je donne. Ce n'est pas bien ficelé.
Du temps qu'il faut noter les questions, les différentes questions posées, les contributions, on va vous demander d'intervenir rapidement par rapport à la problématique qui a retenu votre attention. Madame en ligne peut également intervenir s'il y a une question sur laquelle elle voudrait apporter un peu plus de détails et d'éclaircissements. Merci.
Confirm that can you hear us? I can hear you. Yes, please. Now we were just trying to say, do you have something? Yeah, they've added a few questions. Do you want to contribute to that question, please?
Sure. I think
yes, please.
In terms of innovative financing models, India is a great example, I think, of something that could leverage some of their development on the finance side related to agriculture, SMEs in the agriculture value chain, as well as smallholder farmers. India has been refining the concept of what they call an NBFC, non-bank financial company, and their regulation has changed over decades. And they've really, I think, done a very interesting job of constantly evolving the regulation to figure out what works. And I think they've done a really good job of getting it there. I know I've financed some NBFCs in India, and these non-bank financial companies, they're not a bank, they don't take deposits, they don't have a branch locally. It's a digital platform to originate loans, underwrite loans, distribute the loans, and collect repayment on the loans. And many, many of their have limited reading and writing skills, but they know how to farm. Or perhaps it's a flour mill that is, the flour mill knows all the local wheat growers, and so the flour mill will then act as an on-lending institution on behalf of the NBF, their fertilizer at the beginning of the growing season, with the commitment from the flour mill that they will take for processing the wheat into flour, and they give the balance back to the farmer. And it has worked extremely well, for farmers now see that they have a secure offtake for their crop. They feel more comfortable to invest in higher quality seed and fertilizer, and now even more so branching in there. But these NBFCs, they're not a bank. They thrive off of the efficiency of digital technology. So that's where we get back to quality. So that's where we get back to quality mobile communication technology. I've met with a number of NBFCs that I've worked with over the years who are really interested in bringing that finance knowledge and capability to Africa. And it would be awesome to see the West African and Sahel region take advantage of lessons learned in India into what kind of regulations India passed
On va passer la parole
these NBFC financing models
à d'autres panélistes.
I think it could be really meaningful for the agribusiness value chain.
Merci, 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 madame. Oui.
Well, I'd like to say that most of the speakers did not really ask questions. They made contributions and they told us what they were doing. I would like to give a generic response to what will optimize or scale agribusiness in the Sahel. You see, you have a number of actors in the ecosystem that everybody needs some form of incentive. The private sector will utilize blended funding, concessions, and de-risking of investments. But to be able to really scale industrialization, you must have a very good distribution system of products. And you must have open borders. And all these are work in progress in all of Africa. In the Sahel, because of the commonalities of our challenges and what we do as inclusive business that is in the larger interest of being our brothers and sisters keepers. That is number one, foremost thing. So we are not incentivize others. We have to try to gravitate around profit, and that is to say, you may not look like you are a non-profit by liberalizing some of the operations, But in actuality, you will now be able to impact the overall system. That is to say, if you're able to offer your constituents the possibility of leveraging on what you have comparative advantage in. I would like to look at what NASAL has been doing in Nigeria, in that could be safe to do this, and assurances of even of taking off your debt.
I would like to share sentiments with the person that was asking how can we create a nexus between the farmers and the financiers in the private sector. And because he noted, interestingly, that the banks are not interested in financing smallholder farmers because they are usually small tickets, maybe a plot. So our experience in NASAL has been true and similar to that. So what we did was to create something we call agro-geo cooperatives. So we go to a particular area or community and we do land delineation, and then we create cooperatives from the farmers and create a leadership for that cooperative and get them to agree to a particular commodity that can be cultivated on a large scale. And then we take the big ticket to the bank. So when the bank sees a big ticket, they are interested because of the volumes of money that are coming in there. So thank you very much. I think that will be my concluding comment. And handing over to the moderator. Thank you.
Can we clap for them, please? Yeah. No. Thank you very much. I think as a facilitator, we are almost at the end. I will return the floor to the chair. But I would like to add my key contribution on this one. I think there are some of the participants that have their own experience, and then we couldn't perhaps respond to all the questions. I think from Senegal, for example, is another opportunity to network, to get more information about what he's doing, been doing well, and when. Then I think one thing that I will say, how to really capitalize on all this experience, not waiting until the next forum to start talking about it again. Because when you talk about private sector, please keep in mind business and profits. If you don't have business and profit, don't expect to see Dangote here to do anything. Thank you very much, Chair. Over to you.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Je pense que nous avons fait le tour. On va demander à ce que les questions qui ont été soulevées soient bien retenues dans le rapport. Ça va nous aider à revenir là-dessus. Sinon, merci encore. On va encore une dernière fois applaudir pour les panélistes.
Thank you very much. The photography will take place now. And whilst that concludes.
Okay, thank you very much, facilitator. Yeah, ça va être affiché en anglais. S'il vous plaît, vous voudrez bien afficher le tableau. Oui, nous avons été ici depuis pratiquement 3 jours pour réfléchir en tout cas, et bien sûr, ils l'ont fait. On avait une volonté affichée à 8 milliards, et avec 2 milliards déjà commis et un gap de 6 milliards. Il paraît convenir un peu pour pratiquement autour national, nous pensons qu'il faudra faire des ateliers de restitution de ce qui a été dit ici. Il faudrait que toutes les parties prenantes nationales clés soient associées à ça. Et tableau, jusqu'au tableau. Voilà. Donc, c'est une feuille de route qui est proposée d'ici jusqu'à décembre 2026. Donc, on est là actuellement en septembre, précisément investir jusqu'à 8 milliards de dollars dans l'irrigation au niveau des pays du Sahel. Bon, plus bien sûr, il y a les Togo, les Bénin et les Cap-Vert qui ont aussi proposé donc, des propositions d'investissement. Donc, ce que les pays ont proposé, comment on peut s'organiser pour que ça soit vraiment traduit en investissement concret. Donc, entre septembre et octobre, on peut faire des ateliers nationaux de restitution. Et à cet effet, par exemple, la FAO peut faciliter au niveau national avec les ministères ce genre de réunions où, en tout cas, les ministères convoquent tous les affaires étrangères, tout le monde est ensemble et tout le monde est d'accord à travailler ensemble avec les parties prenantes clés pour mobiliser. Et en octobre, on a le Forum de Rome, donc, qui va se tenir à partir du 14 octobre, où on a un événement spécialement dédié à l'initiative régionale pour le Sahel. On espère que donc, on aura là-bas surtout des décideurs, des institutions de financement qui pourront et qui vont être restitués. Donc, entre octobre et décembre, donc, on pense qu'il faut continuer encore les réunions techniques bilatérales avec les gouvernements, en particulier les organisations régionales, pour en tout cas toujours consolider, confiner et raffiner les propositions d'investissement. Et entre janvier et juin 2025, donc les 6 premiers mois de l'année, on espère qu'il y aura même des signatures d'agréments de partenariat entre, bien sûr, les PPP, et qui vont permettre vraiment d'avancer vers des études de faisabilité. On a bien vu ici à travers les propositions de certains pays, quand les études de faisabilité sont faites et que ça montre que c'est rentable, c'est faisable, les bailleurs sont là, ils prennent. Donc, si dans les 6 premiers mois, on essaie de pouvoir faire des études de faisabilité et on espère pouvoir mettre en œuvre des mécanismes de suivi financier et technique et bien sûr pouvoir aussi faire au niveau régional le suivi des résultats auxquels on va pouvoir parvenir. Donc, de juillet jusqu'à décembre 2026, donc, on espère que les premiers investissements vont être concrètement mobilisés à travers des projets et programmes, en tout cas des mises en œuvre de ces investissements. Et bien sûr, on saura communiquer au fur et à mesure par rapport à la mise en œuvre de ces propositions d'investissement. Donc, en gros, cette feuille de route, vous pouvez aller jusqu'en bas, s'il vous plaît. Donc, cette proposition, jusqu'en bas, il y a un texte en bas. Donc, j'ai déjà dit de juillet en décembre ce qu'on peut faire. Donc, le message clé pour assurer la réussite de la mise en œuvre de la feuille de route pour ces investissements, il nous faut vraiment accélérer la préparation technique. On a dit qu'on veut irriguer 1,2 million d'hectares de 2026 à 2030. 2026, c'est déjà arrivé. Donc, il faut qu'on travaille ensemble et qu'on se mette ensemble pour accélérer la mise en œuvre technique, la préparation technique. Il faut surtout qu'on associe davantage le secteur privé national. Et en fin de compte, il faut qu'on assure aussi un suivi politique. Donc, il faut qu'il y ait une implication continue des ministres et des autorités au niveau national pour que l'on puisse atteindre les objectifs escomptés. Voilà en gros ce que je voulais présenter comme feuille de route. On vous a envoyé en fait à toutes les délégations nationales à travers les représentations nationales FAO. Donc, si vous avez des observations éventuelles, vous pouvez nous les faire et nous les faire parvenir, on prend ensemble en compte. Et donc, la feuille de route finale adoptée est celle qui va servir de référence pour aller de l'avant. Merci.
Thank you very much. We also have a special input from Bashir.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you please share the screen? I'm here to present the schedule for the bilateral meetings, B2B meetings between countries, private sector and IFIs. We've been announcing the request, the opening, but so far we've got 5 appointments, while the World Bank and IFAD regional team are not available as at the time. So you can see ISDB is requested by Mali, Chad, and Nigeria. With focal points, their appointment and meeting rooms are detailed on the table. And Mr. Payos will be the rapporteur for that group. And the economist from PT and will meet Dansa Holdings, Chad, Mali delegation, Chad, Senegal, and Gambia, Mauritania, and Cameroon. Also at room Obecha A, just by the side, right-hand side of the main entrance. And the country focal points are aware. Also the request for World Bank, we cannot accommodate that because they are unavoidably absent. Mr. Rima will be the rapporteur for the team. So also Mr. Takis will provide a few minutes strategic guidance also for that. And for Chad, ICDT, and possibly some FAO team, Mr. Frederick from sales, and also the Chad delegation will meet. The meeting room is Acacia also, because there are two windows for the country delegations. And Mr. Muhammadu Tanu will be the rapporteur for that group. Mr. Jagudi Musa will be the one to provide support in terms of investment support, to shape the discussion before this thing. Then Team Chad are meeting Cameroon, also at Acacia B, within this time. So also the government delegation of Nigeria will remain at the plenary hall here to meet with the Tomato Juice 360 Eco Group based on the request. The focal points are identified in the list, and Mr. Kojo Dosa from FAO RAF will be the rapporteur. So also Mr. Jagudi Musa will provide the investment support guidance. This will remain on the screen while we go on break so that country delegations can be able to keep track and be able to reconvene for the meeting as scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bashir. A couple of announcements. The launch will be in the next building from here. Next building, just next to you here. Next room, rather, not next building. Same building, next room. Please, heads of delegates from all the countries would wait behind while the rest of us can go for lunch. We would hopefully reconvene at 4 p.m. And in 30 minutes, we'll have the closing remarks and closing session. In the meantime, lunch is served. Next room, next hall, in the same building is where lunch will be served. And we'll reconvene at 4 o'clock in this hall for the closing ceremonies. Enjoy your lunch. See you. Lunch as well as the breakup session, as Bashir announced, from now till 4 p.m.
Encourage them to reconvene after 1 hour.
Please reconvene after 1 hour to all. To all the B2B. Yeah. 4 p.m. we all reconvene in here. But country delegates, please stay. Country delegates, please wait behind. Country delegates, please wait behind.
Oui, s'il vous plaît, les délégations nationales, veuillez rester dans la salle. Il y a le ministère qui a donné un petit cadeau pour vous. Donc, vous voudrez bien rester pour le recevoir. Merci.